This is the future.
Joey Wheeler doesn't take a backseat to nobody. It's time to duel!
I always had a love for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think I know why. As a kid I played loads of Yu-Gi-Oh! Power of Chaos, Joey the Passion. It was my first Yu-Gi-Oh! Game I ever played and it solidified my love for the franchise. Released in 2004, I to this day think it is one of the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh! Games ever created. Joey the Passion was the final game of the Power of Chaos series, which included Yu-Gi-Oh! Destiny, Kyber the Revenge and Zoe the Passion. Thinking back to the good old days, I decided to pick up the game again and try to beat it this time, because I wasn't able to as a kid. I don't think there's a perfect definition for beating this game, so let me explain to you how it works and give you my definition I came up with. You can beat Joey either in a single duel or a match duel, where a match duel basically is a best of 3. Joey can also level up his deck, indicated by his Duelist level. The maximum level you can have is level 9, indicated by 9 stars besides his Duelist level. So my goal is to get him up to level 9 and then beat him in a match duel and also beat each of his 6 possible level 9 decks in a single duel. At level 9 Joey has 6 possible types of decks, these also vary in difficulty. A mill deck where his strategy is to let me run out of cards, where in Yu-Gi-Oh! When you can't draw cards anymore you automatically lose the game. A Uber beatdown deck that tries to play strong monsters to quickly deal loads of damage with high attack monsters. A fusion deck where he tries to summon strong fusion monsters to win the battle. A hand toss deck where he tries to discard your hand. A kinetic soldier gravity bind DNA surger deck which tries to lock you out of playing your own cards. And finally an Exodia deck which should have a pretty obvious strategy. At the beginning of the game I had a deck that I thought was pretty decent. The spell and trap cards are good, but my monsters need some big improvements. I also have Kyber the Revenge and Yu-Gi the Destiny installed on my PC. That's why I had a little bit of an advantage, because these cards from these games are also available in Joey the Passion. But for some reason I could only use the ones from Kyber. But don't ask me why, these games are old and I couldn't figure it out. I quickly reached the 7-star Duelist level and got some nice upgrades along the way. My 2 Rocket Warriors, a Sword of Dragon Soul and a Dancing Fairy were the best upgrades in my opinion. I actually played against the Joey the Passion card set until I reached a 5-star rating. You can choose between 2 options when battling Joey, the Joey the Passion card set and the full Power of Chaos card set. These for some reason had different star ratings, so when I switched, Joey suddenly was level 7. Our goal is to beat every single 9-star deck I mentioned before, and these decks are available in the full Power of Chaos card set. From here on, the game started to be more difficult, and I still had a tough grind in front of me. So let me explain to you how to obtain new cards in this game. The progression is extremely brutal. You can either win in a match duel and get 3 random cards from the card pool, or win in a single duel and win 1 random card. If you have already obtained 3 of the same cards or 1 for limited cards, you can exchange the cards for another random one. And if you lose a duel, you get nothing. So, we are done with all the explanation, now let's dive into some gameplay and analyze why it was so difficult to get him up to level 9, and you may even think now, how is this game grindy? But let me show you how it abruptly changed its difficulty, leaving me stuck on the greatest wall since Trump came in office. Fairy Box was the most annoying card of them all. Each time a monster on your opponent's side of the field attacks, toss a coin and call heads or tails. If you call it right, the attacking monster's attack becomes 0, only during the battle phase. Pay 500 life points during each of your standby phases. If you cannot, this card is destroyed, and in some of his 7 to 8 star deck archetypes, he has multiple Fairy Boxes, making back for removal the most important cards in the game. I had many duels where I was stuck because I wasn't able to remove Fairy Box, and had to rely on the 500 damage each turn in order to wear him down extremely quickly. Slowly. He also had the stronger monsters, especially Slate Warriors were a big problem. Not only did they have a 1900 attack baseline, which was the maximum for a non-drawback, non-tribute card, but also if you killed one of them, the attacking monster also lost 500 attack points. After roughly 100 duels, I was finally able to get enough good cards to reach level 9. United We Stand, Delinquent Duo, 2 Goblin Attack Forces, Zombira the Dark and Cybertech Alligator were some of the best cards I got. But let me show you the whole deck. The quality of my monsters increased pretty heavily. The worst one was X-Raider in my opinion with an attack value of 1700, which is not that bad. In this era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Spell cards were the strongest cards in the game, and by adding Delinquent Duo and Together We Stand, the quality of the deck increased immensely. And lastly my traps. They only had a few additions, but Grave Robber, which allows me to get a very strong spell card from the opponent's graveyard, and Magic Drain, which helped me negate my opponent's spells, were a nice addition as well. So, without further ado, let's dive into the first 9-star battle and see if I could finally beat the game. The first duel was against his hand toss deck, but I think he had a pretty bad draw. My draw was also not the best, but good enough. I set down Torrential Tribute and Time Machine. Then I played Goblin Attack Force and I end my turn. He set a monster in face down defense position and also set 2 trap cards. I tried to attack with my monsters, but they got shut down pretty fast by his Mirror Force. Because of Time Seal, I couldn't draw a card next turn, and he also did a Tribute Summon, but a pretty weak one. I used Torrential Tribute to reset the field. After that, the game got pretty simple. I just played enough strong monsters to wear him down. He also wasn't able to discard any more of my cards. The only thing that gave me a little bit of trouble was his Fairy Box. Man, I hate this card. He didn't get lucky with his coins though, which allowed me to clear his board once again and do some decent direct damage. For the final bits of damage, I used my Magic Cylinder against his Goblin Attack Force, and at the end I got lucky and finished him off. I by the way think this deck could be very challenging because of the combination of White Magical Head and Fairy Box, which lets you discard cards if you take damage from White Magical Head, but yeah, we easily defeated him. The second duel was against the Kinetic Soldier Gravity Bind DNA Searcher deck, which tries to lock me out of playing my own cards. But this was the easiest battle of them all, because he didn't play a single card that locks me down. I just played my strongest monsters and basically attacked face for the whole duel. He just played Mariukutai in attack position for 2 turns, which allowed me to deal huge damage. His Kinetic Soldiers couldn't do anything because I didn't play a single warrior monster, just my 2 Gemini Elves and a Witch of the Black Forest. The third duel was against his fusion deck. At level 8, this deck often defeated me. I started the duel by playing Zombira the Dark. He used Monster Reborn to summon Thunder Dragon, a pretty bad move I have to say. He also set 2 cards face down, but they had no impact and I later used Harpy's Feather Duster to destroy them. He relies on using Fusion Gate to summon his fusion monsters. If you discard Thunder Dragon, you can add 2 more Thunder Dragons from your deck to your hand, which allowed him to summon Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, which has an attack value of 2800. But I had the perfect answer in my hand.
Penguin Warrior is a great counter for his fusion monsters. He needs many resources for summoning his fusion monsters, and if you are able to destroy them, you often have a card advantage, which lets you win the duel. I destroyed his goblin attack force with my kinetic soldier and attacked face from there, winning the duel. Next was his mill deck, which tries to let me run out of all the cards in my deck. In the beginning, I just played some strong monsters as always, but I got immediately surprised by his morphing jar. My second draw was nice though. It is always a pleasure to see Harpy's Feather Duster in my hand. He used Monster Reborn and summoned Cybertech Alligator. He also used Delinquent Duo, which discarded my Wing Weaver, but with Grave Robber I was able to grab his Monster Reborn to summon my discarded Wing Weaver from before. He didn't play any Needleworms and wasn't able to lock me down. The Dark Door was often a problem when playing against his mill decks. The Dark Door is a permanent spell card that only allows for one monster to attack during each battle phase, making it hard to finish the duel. At the end of the battle I still had 25 cards left and only 2 more decks to beat in front of me. On my first try against his Exodia deck, he was able to summon Sangan 3 times in a row. The first time by normal summoning it, then by playing Monster Reborn, and finally with Premature Burial. I could only get him down to 3500 life points, and he was able to summon the unstoppable Exodia. The second duel went way better. He didn't play a single strong monster, and only focused on drawing as many cards as possible. I was able to get my giant red sea snake out, which I used to tribute summon Cybertech Alligator. His combo revolved around playing Pot of Greed, then playing Magician of Faith, to then play Pot of Greed, which he followed up with playing Magician of Faith, to then play Pot of Greed. After that, he was able to clear the board with Dark Hole. He couldn't search for a single Exodia piece and didn't even drew half of his deck, so I reduced his life points to 0 with no hesitation. And finally, the Uber Beatdown deck. I was the most scared about this one. I already lost twice, but on my final attempt it turned out to be a pretty simple duel. Torrential Tribute in Magic Cylinder gave me a great foundation for winning this one. He used Ring of Destruction to kill my Zombira. I by the way still don't know how to pronounce this card. But Torrential saved me and cleared the board. From there it was a back and forth, but I was able to summon enough strong monsters to win the duel. Now there's only the best of 3 left.
Let me give you some advice. I didn't win because I'm the #1 duelist in the world. I won because you stink.